Friday night in the college town of Isla Vista. Streets typically filled with students getting ready to celebrate the end of a school year, instead stained with the sounds of gunshots.
He was barely breathing and bleeding.
As the hours passed, the extent of one man's carnage became known, one he wrote about in a twisted manifesto, all with an eerie calmness, planned and posted on social media. Our extensive coverage of tragedy in Isla Vista starts right now. Good morning, everyone. We've been following those horrible events of the weekend in Isla Vista.
Yeah, 7 people lost their life in the college town, including the alleged madman, Elliot Rodger. This morning, we now know the names of all 6 victims.
And News Channel 3 reporter Corey James is live in Isla Vista this morning for us with the very latest details. He's standing outside of the IV Deli where one of the victims was shot and killed. Good morning, Corey.
Serena and Joe, good morning. We're standing outside of the IV Deli Mart here in Isla Vista. And if you take a look, you can see this candlelight vigil for one of the victims gunned down inside of the mart. Now, last night, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office released the press release with the names of 3 additional victims killed in Friday night's tragic rampage. The victims are 20-year-old Ching Yong Hong, 19-year-old George Chen. Both were roommates of mass murder suspect Elliot Rodger. The 3rd victim killed is Waihan Wang of Fremont. He was visiting Hong and Chen. All 3 found dead with multiple stab wounds. Now, Christopher Michael Martinez, the man gunned down inside of the IV Deli Mart, his father spoke out over the weekend. Here's what he had to say.
Our son Christopher Martinez and 6 others are dead. Our family has a message for every parent out there. You don't think it'll happen to your child until it does. Chris was a really great kid. Ask anyone who knew him. His death has left our family lost and broken.
Now, UCSB has a grief counseling hotline set up for anyone who may need support. The number to call is 893-4411. We're live in Isla Vista. Corey James, News Channel 3.
All right, Corey, thank you very much. And those who wish to donate any money in honor of the UCSB students who were victims of this tragedy can do so through a fund that was started by UCSB. In a statement made by Chancellor Yang on UCSB's website, the fund was opened to honor the victims of this tragedy and to memorialize their lasting impact. You can access this donation site by visiting ucsb.edu.
A day of mourning will be held tomorrow. All classes at UCSB have been canceled. Chancellor Henry Yang released a letter yesterday stating that a memorial service will be held on campus tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. It'll be held at Harder Stadium and is being organized by students, staff, and faculty. Academic advisors will hold extended office hours this week starting between 9 and 5 p.m. Classes are set to resume on Wednesday.
And students have already been going through the grieving process. Thousands of them turned out at UCSB for a candlelight vigil that was hosted on Saturday night. The vigil filled Stork Plaza in the early evening hours. It featured speakers and performers who reflected and honored the lives who were lost. The event was put together by the Santa Barbara Response Network, UCSB, and the Associated Students. After the vigil, a large crowd of more than 3,000 RSVPs took part in a memorial walk through Isla Vista.
The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department described the deadly shooting rampage as a chaotic, rapidly unfolding, convoluted incident that involved a total of 10 separate locations with 12 crime scenes. And News Channel 3 was first to let you know Elliot Rodger's apartment was where it all started. As Corey mentioned, 3 people were stabbed to death inside of that Isla Vista residence. 2 of them were Rodger's roommates, 20-year-old Chang Yun Hong and 19-year-old George Chen, both of San Jose. 20-year-old Waihan Wang of Fremont was visiting. He was also stabbed to death inside the apartment. Earlier this year, we're learning that Rodger accused one of his roommates of stealing $22 worth of candles from him. Rodger actually made a citizen's arrest for petty theft, contacted sheriff's deputies who then arrested Hong. The case was referred to the DA's office.
On Embarcadero del Norte, one of the streets in Isla Vista, it's not too far from the IV Deli where Corey was live this morning. That's the scene where 22-year-old Catherine Cooper and 19-year-old Veronica Weiss were shot and killed. Friends of Cooper say they want her to be remembered for her bubbly and friendly personality.
She was just the kindest person ever, and I miss her a lot already, and I hate talking about her in the past tense, because for me, she's still not the past tense yet. She's still here, and I'm gonna miss her a lot.
Cooper was majoring in arts and would have graduated this year.
And people continue to gather in front of that Ivy Deli Mart where 20-year-old Christopher Michael Martinez was gunned down. And there's a growing memorial for Michael Martinez outside of that deli, as we showed you earlier. He was the last of 6 people killed by Roger. He had just stepped inside the deli on Pardal when he was shot. People in Isla Vista say they are in disbelief.
I was thinking, I had just walked by here. You never know, you never think that that's going to happen in your own town.
Michael Martinez's father, we heard from him earlier, and he talked to his son. He says his son was a sophomore at UCSB, and he spoke to him just 45 minutes before he was killed. This
is a true story of survival. Sierra Schwartz was just 10 feet away from Elliot Rogers' car when he opened fire.
This was the one that I felt. I'm almost positive that I felt this one, because I felt it,
Talking with News Channel 3's Victoria Sanchez yesterday, Schwartz pointed out the bullet holes in the fence that she was walking by on Friday night as she retraced her steps just 2 days after 6 victims were killed and 13 others injured. She said that she feels blessed to be alive.
I feel like it's an absolute miracle that he didn't shoot me from how close he was to me. And, there was no one else around. I was the only person on the streets. And it was a Friday night. There was no one else around. I was the only one, and he looked directly at me. He talked to me, and then he just shot at me multiple times. And somehow, even though I hadn't even ran yet, he didn't hit me.
Just incredible. Schwartz is going to be leaving Isla Vista for a few days, heading back to her home in San Diego so she can try and cope with the whole situation. She does tell Victoria Sanchez that she will be leaving Isla Vista for good, though, very soon.
A skateboarder who was hit by Roger's car suffered 2 broken legs. He didn't know until 15 minutes afterwards that multiple people had been shot.
Had gotten food at Freebirds and was longboarding down the street while my friend in front of me was on his bike. And needless to say, he and I were just talking, and out of nowhere get swooped up by a car and thrown about 50 yards or 50 so far down the street. It was all a real blur, and then next thing I know, I'm on the ground, can't move my legs.
And Nick had to undergo surgery and is now recovering.
Roger laid out his murderous plan in YouTube videos and this 141-page manifesto. It's titled My Twisted World, the story of Elliot Roger. It really was his game plan for that night, and we took a closer look inside.
Hi, Elliot Roger here.
Along with his horrifying YouTube posts, Roger's written manifesto outlines every painstaking moment of his life, his struggle to fit in, and a desire to be loved by attractive young women. If only one girl had given me the chance, he writes, tried to get to know me, let me take her out on a date, none of this would have happened. The manifesto, more than 140 pages detailing everything from what he calls a blissful beginning to the horrible rampage in Isla Vista. He writes of moving to Santa Barbara hoping his life would get better, hoping to make friends. When that didn't happen, he apparently became depressed and lonely. At various intervals, something happened to give me a new hope for my life, only to have it shattered later on. Roger also describes in graphic detail his plot to kill his roommates and lure others in with trickery, knocking them out with a hammer and slitting their throats. The troubling text also details at least one previous visit from authorities, where he feared being found out. I had the striking and devastating fear that someone had somehow discovered what I was planning to do, and how the plan nearly unraveled. He said, quote, if the police would have searched my room, found all my guns and weapons along with my writings about what I planned to do with them, that would have ended everything. Joe Butita, News Channel 3.
Chilling words by Elliot Roger himself. And this tragedy has clearly taken a toll on so many of us in this community, and religious leaders in Isla Vista are reaching out to students. Many UCSB students attended Mass yesterday morning over at St. Mark's University Parish. The pastor's message was one of hope and love. Churchgoers prayed for all the victims and for the family of the gunman.
This was clearly the work of a mentally ill young man and the response that we see after something like this always makes me reinforces my understanding and my beliefs that these students are really good people. They're good young people.
The message locals want the world to know about Isla Vista is that it's a great school environment and a great community. The pastor tells us there will be an interfaith vigil on Tuesday.
It has been a rough couple of days for everybody involved, and of course we're going to be going through this even more as the days continue. All right, it's 6:39, still ahead here on News Channel 3 this morning.
As we mark this Memorial Day, President Obama gives U.S. troops a surprise visit in Afghanistan with a surprise guest. We'll tell you more about his trip coming up.